Hello, everybody. I am Chris Parrish alongside with Alex, aka the Active Guy of Love Wrestling. We are back to you with another episode of Love Wrestling Reacts. But before we get to anything, we want to make sure we welcome everyone who comes in. And we also want to make sure that we shout out our number one sponsor, and that is RK Athletics. And if you want to follow RK Athletics on the social media, go check him out at RK Athletics 1, where you can get everything that Rich decides to post about workouts, about what you can do in terms of helping out your body, how to do things, because he loves to show you proper technique. One of the best physiques in the Alberta wrestling scene, and I do recommend that you check him out because you definitely can learn a lot just from him. But with that said, Alex, how are you, and what have you been up to as of late?
I have been up to a whole lot of nothing. I got to take the day yesterday and spend some time with the wife. Went out to do a little figure hunting. Came a little short, but still had a good time. Able to get out of the house and do a little bit of running around, have a little lunch, spend a little time with the little lady. How about yourself? How's things going around the house for you?
Things are good. Things are good. I made my in-ring return to RCW last night, so couldn't be happier, could not be grateful. At the beautiful age of 35, I still get to do what I love, even though it's a pandemic still going on. Even though for one night I wanted people to forget it was a pandemic, I wanted people to come and love pro wrestling and turn it into a fandemic. That is what I'm using now forward. Hopefully that conspires a little bit more positivity and love. Yes, I thought I lost my voice last night, so this is a pleasant surprise.
Yelling at too many little kids, are you?
No, I'm a good guy.
I'm a good guy.
I'm a good guy.
Good guy in front of the audience, kind of a jerk behind the camera.
Only to you. Only to you. But I think you and I, we talked about this off screen. We can't be remiss to not bring up everything. I know for you, because you and I are both in-ring performers. We both know the importance of professional wrestling is not only to entertain an audience and bring smiles to people's faces, but it's also something I've believed to be something that could take your attention away from real life issues. And just forget that for no matter whether it's an hour, whether it's two, no matter what, but just be able to escape reality and enjoy something else and be entertained. So when you do have to go back to that world and those issues, you have a little bit more of a smile or things like that. It's just the beautiful, just a little bit of that beautiful that comes with the art of professional wrestling. But today we are remembering the 20-year anniversary of 9/11, and we cannot be heartfelt to remiss that. all the people not only were there who had suffered loss, gave their lives in 9/11, our heartfelt, just everything we send to you, our just prayers that today you're just in a good spirit, remembering that, but also identifying what happened next with not only just the city of New York, who I'm proudly paying tribute with their T-shirt on right now, but also the United States, and just a cultural change too that we saw from this. I think it's very important to recognize just how much this meant to a lot of people and just how heavy of a scenario. Alex, I know you reside in the United States of America. Do you want to shed some light on just remembering 9/11 in your ass?
Oh man, 20 years ago I was 12, 13, somewhere in there. I think maybe on the brink of 14. Just here in the States we have a thing called the I-STEP test. And I was in my 7th grade middle school class, finishing up a segment of that, and another teacher comes into our classroom and, hey, turn on your TV, and we all kind of took focus to that because it was weird that somebody, another teacher was running in and telling us to do that. So we turned our attention, and we see this crazy scene of like these two massive skyscrapers, bellowing smoke, and it's just having to hear the newscasters, in a very somber tone. And at the time, we didn't realize, because we're 13, 14, 12 years old, and we don't know exactly what's going on. So we're just kind of listening to everybody else around us, especially the adults at the time. And I think even afterwards, I went to a history class following this class, and the history teacher said that this was monumental, this was big, this is going to change the world, and it was right. That it changed for a lot of people and a lot of things. Like this was, I had to ask my grandmother one time, where was she when JFK was shot, and what was what did she feel? And what she told me about that time was kind of how I felt. Like I was kind of confused, kind of lost, but just wondering what was going to happen next in the world as a whole. And a lot of things changed, and there are a lot of sad stories to come out of this, but there are also a lot of good things that came out of this. Like one of my favorite stories of this is Steve Buscemi, who has gone on to be an actor, was also a fireman for the New York, and he took the time and he went down and he helped out in any way that he could, which was a great story. But yeah, it's just 20 years ago, and it's still hard to believe that was 20 years ago. It's still crazy to think about to this day how much the world and life has changed in that time.
Yeah, it's still going to be a memory in my head of just seeing. Like, it's something that when you see it, you can't forget about it. But you touched on something. We also want to make sure that if by chance you're watching and you have any ties to a firefighter, a police officer, even a military fighter, we want to give not only our heartfelt thank you, but our thoughts to all of you, because at the age of 35, I got to wrestle last night, and I know it wouldn't be possible to have the freedom to do that if it wasn't for all these great people fighting, making a difference, making the world a better place. I salute you. I thank you. But we're here to talk a little bit about pro wrestling.
We don't want to kind of undersell this topic.
Not at all. But
going back to what you said earlier, let's kind of go away from that and
let's reflect from reality, and let's talk some pro wrestling and put a smile on the face, because that is what we do. And it's very interesting that you said that, like, it changed a lot, because just like nations seeing that, hey, something terrible might be going on, Mick Foley also realized that there is something wrong going on with the WWE right now. He understands there's a problem. He looks at what the AEW has been doing right now, and there's whether it's a disconnect, whether it's just execution. There's something that WWE is just not doing right. It was echoed by Booker T of all people. And I think this is very important moving forward because, I mean, if anybody's gone through the 12 steps, that first step is realizing that there's a problem. WWE is now hopefully in that first step to a recovery to a better product. We can only hope. But what do you make out of this? What do you make out of some of these nostalgia? I don't want to say nostalgia, legends, Hall of Famers, coming out and saying, look, wake up, smell the freaking coffee right now. You're losing. You're not what you used to be. And it's a wake up call, I hope. But what do you make out of this? Because I'm just damn well happy somebody came out and said it.
Yeah. And I've been talking about this with my wife for a little bit this week. And, when you have somebody like Mick Foley who was involved in one of the pivotal moments of your Monday Night War, Tony Schiavone announcing, on WCW, they're going to give, Mick Foley, the world champion, over there on the other show. I'll put butts in seats, And then that same guy now here years later is saying, hey, WWE, there's a problem and you need to fix this. Like, you listen. This guy was a part of that moment, and he helped in that moment, helped WWE win that war, back then. But now he's saying, like, look, whether or not you want to address it, this is kind of a war. And so far, AEW has won. You moved off of Wednesday nights from NXT because the viewership wasn't there. AEW just had one of their biggest pay-per-views of their entire, 2 or 3 year history, but it has only turned eyes to them. And here WWE is trying to do damage control, and a guy like Mick Foley and a guy like Booker T are coming out and saying, like, hey, you need to act quick and you need to do something to try and make up for this. Try and make up for lost time or this, the needle, try and get it back to your side. But like, I've said before, like, is it too late at this point,
You know what? When it comes to pro wrestling, the one thing I've realized that there is no wrong time. Just keep fighting. As long as you can show some fire, there's always going to be a fan there to make some noise.
Apparently, I've lost Chris. Kind of going to where he was going. I think, as long as you've got hope, and that's kind of what WWE needs right now is hope that they can bring this back and try and recover. And I think they're going to do their best to try and recover. We've kind of said it over the past couple of weeks now. Let it play out. Let's wait and see, and hopefully they can get it done. Hopefully they can somehow reestablish fans wanting to see their product over AEW. Parrish, I hope you join me because you had all the notes, man. Hopefully he joins back with me. So let me try and get some notes myself. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Let me try and find some of my notes here. Some things that we can talk about. Here's sorry guys. It's now just me. Thank God he's back. There he is.
This is what happens when the power goes out in your house. This is fantastic.
I was scrambling like an egg there. I didn't know where to go.
It is okay. No, that's never happened before, so that was interesting. But yeah, no, and you know what? Like a good person, I kept fighting and I got back in the fight. And this is exactly what WWE needs to always do. They have to keep an open mind in this forum. And Alex, yes, this definitely means you have to take over the production roles, by the way.
All right, that's fun. Let's real quick. Astrid in the comments. Hi, friends. Hey, little lady. How are you? Our good friend. Parrish, what do you got for us next?
Well, I mean, I still want to kind of continue on this because it's very interesting. Because when we look at the landscape of AEW and WWE, um, we know that they're changing, right? Like we know there's tides that are changing. AEW has all this momentum. WWE, I just want to know, like, if you were in charge of WWE right now, what are three major changes you would want to do and make right now that could help spin momentum, fans in the favor of wanting to watch WWE and making it more must see and can't miss?
Was that a question?
Yeah. What would you do, and what are
would
three things you would do?
I mean?
Yeah, that's
sorry,
that's my question.
It's Saturday morning scramble. There we go. So yeah, just I mean, change your entire format, change your entire direction. I would think figure out where people are just kind of groaning every time you see a certain person or a certain thing on your television. Just kind of like, okay, let's change this. Let's make it better. If people are getting tired of seeing Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre together for the title, then let's move away from that. If people are tired of seeing, the big thing recently was Goldberg. People are tired of seeing that, and let's kind of move away from that. You've got these nostalgia acts that are coming on, and not everybody wants to see them. And when you have that majority of, like turning your channel to have another product, then you got to face it. We talked a little bit before the program that with Roman Reigns right now, he's been going strong over a year as the champion, and we have the Demon and Finn Balor. What are they going to do with that? Is there any possibility that he is going to win this title? And in my mind, I'm just immediately like, no, because that's not what WWE does. They don't give us necessarily what we would hope to see. But you talked about how if eventually we're getting to The Rock versus Roman Reigns at Mania, do they need the title? And you and I have sat back and talked about they don't need the title for this feud. It could just be Roman Reigns, who has been a big jerk, who has been the head of the table, and then The Rock could come in and be like, "Whoa, I was the head of the table before you were even here, brother." But that's not the type of booking that WWE, and we know that WWE has, is they want to make this, it's got to be about the title, and by the end of the pay-per-view, The Rock has got to be holding the title and as the head of the table, unless they surprise us by doing a passing of the torch. But even then, it's that this would now be two WrestleManias or two WrestleMania pay-per-views in a row where Roman's coming out on top. So, with this possibility of Finn Balor winning the title, that would probably be really nice to see. But I mean, is it going to happen? And I hope you heard all of that.
Yes, no, I'm able to get everything back up. Just add me back there. Perfect. Yeah, I am back on
while you fix yourself up there,
I'm good to go, man. I'm good to go. But yes, let's get to the
comment from Thoroughbred. Greetings and salutations on this most difficult day in U.S. history. Non-wrestling question, and then a wrestling question. 20 years. What the heck did you go? Don't go anywhere. Stay there. Stay. Where did you go? Where were you on this day? I think I went over that. Chris, where were you on this day?
I mean, I was on my way to school that day. Just honestly, just heading into class, not even class, but just into the actual, I guess it's foyer of the school. We had a couple TVs. They were replaying all the footage from the first tower, being hit and attacked. And then that's when we were getting word that the second one had been attacked. Kind of as we were walking into class. And what I thought was really interesting that day, because normally when you go to school, you have a curriculum, you always have scheduled things that you're going to be learning. With the exception of gym, our physical education, PE, whatever you wanted to call it, that's all we talked about that day. And I thought that was really refreshing, because even though you had a thought plan of what you were going to do and how you're going to get to that end game, something happens and it really changes the game in the sense of what's going on. And learning more current events and just being able to adjust what we thought we knew before. And I don't know, it was just different, and it was kind of refreshing. And I don't know, like there's something about it that just made that day different. But in a weird way, bringing that back, that's exactly what WWE has to do. They might have in their mind this set curriculum that they put a lot of time and put a lot of effort of, this is what we want to do in the next year. But then when something like AEW comes and changes the game, you got to be able to adapt. You be able to change the way you're going about it, and you've got to be able to react to current events. And that's exactly what I think WWE needs to do to change themselves. They got to be able to think outside the box a little. I've been saying this. There's nothing raw about Monday nights anymore. Maybe it's overproduced. Maybe there's too much lighting. But bring back the organic feel of Monday Night Raw. Like back when you had the Nation of Domination, back when you had, the Hart Foundation, back when you had Degeneration X, there was always something grungy about Monday Night Raw, and it always worked. And maybe that's just what you have to get into. So yeah, I mean, that's something I would definitely think.
Now, let me ask you this: you're kind of describing the Attitude Era?
A little bit.
Do you think this notion of bring back the Attitude Era has kind of been overdone, or do you think like, hey, yeah, this would be a bit of a breath of fresh air? Like, strip it down, take away the little AR graphics they have, take down some of the Titantron. It doesn't have to be so flashy. Make it down to earth kind of a feel. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, what I loved about the Attitude Era is I think it was a perfect resemblance of what the fans wanted and what the talent could do. So when you're looking at the Attitude Era, it really defined what everybody wanted, right? Like there's actually people in true connection with as we get the random 731 saying what's good. We're talking pro wrestling. That's what's good. What's good is that you're also here with us chatting some professional wrestling. So yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things that Raw then and Throwback kind of mentions that too. I'll just leave that comment up for right now. It really made the 2 hours feel like you saw something. There's a lot of stuff put in that 2 hours. Not every single match was amazing. And I also think too, we're in a time now where everyone's going to nitpick everything that's done now. And I really think just you got to be able to kind of let things go and let things slide and detach yourself from thinking everything is going to be perfect. And there's just storytelling, right? At the very least, if something wasn't great, you're always wondering what was going to be next. And I really think they got to get back to that. So push and what's that? Like pull and pull starts that they do with the guys like Dolph Ziggler, Ricochet, just guys as an example in the past. They got to start doing that. Throwback says Raw feels more like it's rushed than that it's pressing as a baseball term, and that they're trying to push all of the best matches first rather than leaving people wanting more over the course of the show. They reckon so much stuff. And that's kind of my point. They don't prolong things. The only thing they've really prolonged in the last little bit has been the evolution of Roman Reigns as a bad guy. And we've seen how amazing that has turned out to be. Now, just think if they put that same time and effort into other acts, other parts of the show, how much more complete are their shows going to be? Their product is going to be going forward. you don't have to revive back to the Attitude Era, but you can go back to the certain ways you've done things in the past and understand why that worked. And you got to be able to understand why things now aren't working. And then you got to be able to say, okay, how can we connect this to our audience in a positive way, in a way they're going to react to? No pun intended. But that's just it. It's connecting. They got to connect to their fans. And right now, they're having a hard time connecting to their fans because they just don't know what they want.
Mm-hmm. And I also think it's kind of this notion of like, okay.
I'm going back to my spot, by the way.
Oh, you're fine. Like this, so the big thing is like WWE is sports entertainment, and as been said before, like AEW, Ring of Honor, and everything else is professional wrestling. Like I've sat down and tried to watch Raw recently, and even when I was doing some of the React stuff, I noticed that there's a lot of promos. There's a lot of commercials. It almost feels like it's very talk show like they have to get over these talking points of I hate this guy, I don't like this guy, kind of thing, instead of just telling us that inside of a ring, and that's where they could, if they just shaved off a bunch of that, and like we said before, like strip down the product into what it could be, like tells that they don't like each other by having a compelling storyline. And even going with that, we've seen that long-term stories can be beneficial. Like we had in recent time, Cody and Darby Allin. We had 2 matches where Cody was coming out on top over Darby, but when in the match that mattered for the TNT Championship, Darby finally picked up the victory.
Yeah.
So, it's WWE is very much a bubble when it comes to wrestling. And I just think that if they just got out of that and, understood that they can tell long-term stories, that it would be a lot better. But their long-term stories aren't as complex or as compelling as they could be.
Yeah, and Throwback's making up a lot of good points. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that
Lather?
Yeah.
Lather?
I don't know.
I do love I love the picture though. That's awesome.
Yeah, and this is kind of it. Like AEW is all about wrestling, but WWE wants to be a media company. And I think too, like that's kind of that notion. Like Vince cares more about the E than he does about the second W. That Edge actually has mentioned on an episode of NXT. And I think the disconnect is that wrestling, in my opinion, is entertainment. It is something. It's something that we want. Like wrestling fans will watch WWE. They will watch AEW. I understand this whole notion of bringing in the new fans, but once you start leaving those, traditional wrestling fans and pushing them away, you're going to turn into a media company. You're going to turn into an entertainment company. You're going to not become a wrestling company. So professional wrestlers like your Adam Coles, like your Bryan Danielsons, like your Sean Spears, like your Miros, like your John Moxleys, now like CM Punks, the Ruby Sohos of the world. And that's a lot of examples that I've thrown out too, and that's not even all of them. But they will leave because they care about professional wrestling. All Elite Wrestling has professional wrestling. They use a term called professional wrestling in it. And because of that, that's what excites fans. That's what excites the performers. And there has to be that understanding between owner of the company and the audience of the fan. There needs to be that connect. And right now, it just seems like WWE is missing the boat on the connection to the fans, whereas AEW, they're hitting it like a Titanic. And I'm sorry to use that phrase, but I mean, I had to stay in the water category. But I mean, it's true. They are absolutely firing on all cylinders right now over in All Elite Wrestling, and they're doing a great job of making you change that channel. And we talked about Mick Foley being a catalyst of wrestling fans changing the channel back in the Monday Night Wars. And And I just don't know at 70 some odd years old if Vince McMahon understands how to win a battle nowadays. Like he did.
76.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about, 1998, 99? We're talking 22, 23 years ago here, back when he was a lot more understanding to the outside world than he is now. Throwback coming in, it's another way of looking at it. If you, I'm going to assume if your Xbox or Apples and you make an Xbox Series X or iPhone, and there are products that are not capable with newer products, people will go somewhere else to get their new tech. Same with wrestling. WWE isn't compatible with the current generation of fans. And I think that really kind of just, in a whole thing, kind of just relates to what I just said about there has to be a better connection to the fans with WWE. Yeah. And they can't just be like, oh, we need to bring in the Bellas and we need to do another reality show. We need to bring in Eva Marie. Like, why bring in Eva Marie when you could have just, brought in Becky Lynch back? Why give us Doudrop when the world just wants to see Piper Niven? That's the only time I'm going to use that stupid name, by the way, as an example.
Agreed.
But with that being said, it's just perplexing. And it really needs to be a perfect plexing when it comes to execution. And they're missing the boat on their execution of relating to their fans.
Speaking of, and I can't even make a good segue. You are the man at making segues. There you go. So Here's a question. So We've already established that there are two categories here. We have professional wrestling and sports entertainment, and we know that WWE tends to lean towards being sports entertainment. What if they just kind of threw out the, not necessarily the rules, but what if they just kind of moved more into that, like, forget trying to compete and be more sports entertainment, and not when something big happens over here, try and react to it over here. Like we had, bringing back Goldberg or bringing in The Rock or bringing back Becky Lynch. Instead of having a reaction to what's going on, let them be in their own bubble and be a sports entertainment.
Well, and I think that's I think too, what they're trying to do is they're trying to fight fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we're talking about, a lighter that you get with cigarettes towards a flamethrower right now. And I think that's just it. Like, your flame isn't there. And they always want to go to these nostalgic acts because they have this pool of history that they can always go back to. And there's a lot of good acts that happened back then. But the relatability factor with that now just overtakes the current talents that they have now. Like, I'm sorry if I didn't really want to watch Goldberg, but I'd rather have seen the developing evolution to The Fiend or Bray Wyatt. Yeah. I'm sorry that I wanted to see Rusev tap out John Cena after he rode a freaking tank to the ring at WrestleMania, where he would have been the only guy to make John Cena quit. That would have been absolutely fantastic to make him look like your big monster. And this is it too. Like, reportedly Fox is not happy with WWE not making plays for the, guys like CM Punk. They're kind of a catalyst for saying, bring back Lesnar, who we'll get to in a second too, because he did kind of show back up on WWE this week. But I mean, that's just it. Like, find your good acts and run with them. Give them the freedom. We're talking, a guy like Kevin Owens, who are right now in those headlines of he could be the next guy to leave WWE. His contract is up in January of 22. That's being speculated and rumored. But he's also speculated to be one of the guys where he has the least amount of script behind his promos. And lately, how good is Kevin Owens on the microphone? How good is his rants? Notably, I know this is kind of going back in time, but the one where he just absolutely wrecked Dolph Ziggler when he was just saying, like, we get it. It should have been you. It should have been you 8 years ago, but it wasn't. Or it should have been. And it kind of was for a little bit, but it's not anymore. Just get over it. Like, it was just so entertaining, so crisp, so funny. That's almost Rock-esque of just going off on someone. And I really think they're missing the boat yet. People are like, well, they don't have a Rock. They don't have an Austin. And it's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is they should have a modern day star and another modern day star. Like, they have a Roman Reigns. They had a John Cena. But it's like, okay, and I really think maybe you need to shorten up this roster and go back to multiple shows. And then you can have Roman Reigns against the Drew McIntyres. You can have Bobby Lashley's against the Roman Reigns. You can do the Brock Lesnar's versus the Bobby Lashley's. You can give the matches that people want instead of always fiddling with our hopes of doing the right thing and waiting 7 months for WrestleMania or waiting for SummerSlam or waiting for the special time. And because of that, you're just wasting days on contracts to where by the time these contracts are up, guys saying, I don't want to re-sign, I'm going over there. And I do believe that's a situation they had with Adam Cole, because I don't think they gave him enough proof that they were going to use him the way that Adam Cole wants to be used on a Raw and SmackDown. And we could talk about the reports that they wanted him to be a heel manager for now, apparently Keith Lee, and maybe drop the last name because Michael Cole, of all people. Like, God forbid that when you think Cole in wrestling, instead of thinking of the guy who has Adam Cole, baby, as a legit over thing, we're going to go to Michael Cole and be like, you can't use that name. But how many Chris's? How many other names do we have? Hell, we have a Karrion Kross and a Nikki Cross. Mm-hmm. And they won't even use that now. It's Nikki ASH and Karrion Kross. Like, it's too moronic of the little things. Vince McMahon needs to be able to let those stupid things go. The fact that everyone needs to have one name and not two, or Ricochet needs to have a stupid little sound in front of his entrance theme instead of just having that cool ass theme song that he does have. It's just little things that when you have something good, you got to be able to maximize it and not pigeonhole it. And I feel WWE does a good job of pigeonholing. Like, we don't want to see Shorty G. We want to see Chad Gable wreck guys because he's one of the best professional wrestlers you have.
Yeah, and even like with you saying, like, we want to see this over that, like, one of the bigger examples of them kind of being set in their ways is when they announced Hulk Hogan for this year, for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They thought that bringing in Hulk Hogan was going to be the one big selling point for the pay-per-view, but he ended up getting booed out of the building both nights. So, like, that's kind of a point to say, like, hey, there is a disconnect here, you know.
Astrid, all I can say is right.
Yeah.
And does that matter at all?
Although I will say there is a guy named Jason Hotch that has appeared on Darks. His name on the indies is Jason Page because he's from around my area. At least I believe he used to be. So, yeah, but they have done that at least.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just guys wanting to make a change. Like, I can be completely honest when guys want to do something new, a new chapter. They want to also kind of evolve. Guys like Chris Jericho has made evolving your character and persona. It just gives you more of a shelf life in this business moving forward. So it's just simple things, in my opinion, to what I think WWE would need to do. They got to detach from their ego of thinking that regardless, they're WWE. We have WrestleMania. We have SummerSlam. People will watch us. I'm going to strut like a freaking moron. It doesn't matter because if there's no substance behind the strut, nobody cares about how you walk. If the act is stale, we're changing the channel. And that's just it. The fans have no idea. And this is, I'm as loyal to WWE as anyone. I'll gladly admit that. But this week, I watched a lot of wrestling. I watched Raw. I watched AEW Dynamite. I watched NXT, and I watched SmackDown. And I will tell you this: the best top to bottom match show this whole week was AEW Dynamite, followed by SmackDown, which was a close thing. But with that being said, when Monday Night Raw, your flagship show, cannot get the job done anymore, you got to look in the mirror. And 90% of the times, when you look in the mirror, you're looking at what you think you want to see. You're not actually missing, or you're actually missing what's actually there. Because there's a good chance what you see is a complete opposite of what you want.
I feel like that was a little bit of a blow at me as well. Like, am I that bad looking?
No. But
no, I get you. Like,
it's just a metaphor to the fact that WWE is looking in the mirror and they're just thinking there's that alpha male at the gym and they're just like, yeah, I look big. But I mean they don't.
Yeah,
really look
and
that nasty, to be honest.
And I get that they need to take a step back and actually look at the product and actually look at what they've got going on, and just, I think if they actually took that and took it seriously, maybe they would start to see the problem. But
Well, exactly, and that's just it. They're too far separated from what they want and who they think they are that they can't see the little crack that's actually expanding. But with that, there was actually some good stuff this week in professional wrestling. We got note that AEW is actually gonna tease us with some more Bryan Danielson against the Kenny Omega right off the bat, which I like. If there's one person that can jump the line in the wins and losses category to that AEW world title, I think it's the American Dragon.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree. Like, even just with them teasing it on All Out or even the Dynamite afterwards, like, this is going to be one of your big money matches. It was, I believe we saw it maybe a handful of times on the Indies before both of them, before Daniel got signed. But yeah, this is going to be one of the ones that people are going to want to see, especially with, years down the line, what they can bring back to these matches. What I've noticed, what I was kind of thinking is, we know that next week, Adam Cole is going to be making his in-ring debut. What if his first match is against an in-ring debut of Daniel Bryan?
Well, they already announced his opponent for next week.
Well, then never mind. I'm just out of the loop then.
They announced that Kazarian will face off against Adam Cole next week.
Well, then, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
Scratch the question.
No, and as much as I would have loved to see that, to be honest, I love the fact that they're also kind of just not giving us a WWE match. Just a week into.
Right, but I think at this point, like, especially with their hands no longer being tied, I think they could be better than what they did in a WWE match.
Sure, where I was just going to go with it is, like, I like the mix right away, so you can at least increase the fan wanting of seeing it. So when it does happen, you can organically go to it. Because I also would love to see, that Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy, which I think is going to be the first really big match for Adam Cole. And I think that's a great way of really making Jungle Boy a household name when, like, kind of in their landscape now. And that's just it. They're doing things really well. It's just like they had Darby Allin as the guy that, I mean, when you really think about it, this is a cool little perk that Darby Allin can have. He was the match that CM Punk had after 7 years. That's a pretty cool thing when you understand the impact of CM Punk into the world of professional wrestling. And Darby Allin really stood out to me on that show. His stock rose. And I just like the little things. Like, I also really like the interaction between MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. I like the fact that you didn't go to a heavy hitter with MJF right after Chris Jericho. You understood that MJF's heat has gotten to the point now to where he can use that to help elevate a couple guys. Like a Brian Pillman Jr., who really is just 1 or 2 feuds away from really separating himself as a new act on the rise in AEW. And then there's just multiple other guys, like whether it's Dante Martin, who really stood out for me in the last few weeks. And this is just what they have. And this is why I say WWE, go back to the one roster with multiple shows. Because how cool would it be to see like a Roman Reigns versus an Austin Theory? Just to see an Austin Theory. And I'll even do you one better. How cool was it to see Buddy Murphy against Roman Reigns? And if WWE actually understood what they had with Buddy Murphy, then use that to elevate him. And I think that's also the secondary thing too. Like once you give a guy an opportunity, you got to roll with what's hot. But I mean, that's in a nutshell what WWE has to start doing. They have to do more live developing of talent. They can't just protect guys all the time. Whereas AEW, they're just giving guys opportunities and opportunities. I thought the Acclaim were hilarious on Dark the other day when Max Caster, when he was going, and then Buddy is like, "Oh no, you're already on thin ice. You can't say that." Like they took the reality of the situation and they made light and brought it into a professional atmosphere. Made light about it. It was entertaining, which is what pro wrestling is. Again, pro wrestling is entertainment. So like I don't know, there's rooms for these promos, in my opinion. You just have to be able to do it right. There needs to be the mix, the healthy mix. But another thing that stood my eye this week was we got to see the return of the Demon. Like that was cool. In Madison Square Garden, there's always an aura about Madison Square Garden, apropos, given the week, given the day. But the Demon doesn't lose. So this is a match now, and regardless of what we think of WWE, are we not immediately impacted on the investment scale of does Roman beat the Demon or does the Demon dethrone the head of the table? It's an interesting match, and now it's a match that has made me invested in the main event to Extreme Rules.
Yeah, it's we've gotten to see Roman versus Balor a couple times now, and I remiss to last week. I know that we had a few where Roman took the loss against Finn, especially in Finn's early career on the main roster. The tournament for the finals for SummerSlam to crown the new Universal Champion. That was a big match, and Finn won that match against Roman. So bringing in the Demon, though, I don't know if it's going to be the reason why Roman drops the title, though. I don't think that's they might just be bringing in because WWE has to have a gimmick for everything. So having the Demon in Extreme Rules was kind of a perfect, setup for that pay-per-view. So I just don't know if it's gonna actually happen. I mean, maybe I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see Finn back with the Universal Championship, and I'd love to see him back on top. But knowing how we know WWE to be, I just don't see it happening.
If here we are saying WWE needs to do something different, they need to be able to, whether it's, let's just say it, they have to give a reason for the fans to either say yes or they need to shock the system. Yes, I went there. But with that also being said, they have to be able to kind of take what everyone thinks is coming in and hit them in a completely different way and make people go, oh my God, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that. I like that. Maybe the Balor Demon beating Reigns kind of helps that perception of the fan base that WWE might have actually said, you know what, yeah, we got to do something. And maybe this something is a big thing like this. WWE has a tendency of, if they're going to do something, they always do it big. I don't
But
think there's
do
a
you-
bigger title change than Roman Reigns right now.
Right, but do you think that they're gonna go back on it a month later just because we're gonna do it now to get people talking and reinvest stock into us, but then like I said, go back on it a month later because they got what they wanted, people to come back and watching us.
I'll give you this, and tell me if you're against it. Balor Demon takes the title off Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rollins defeats Finn Balor at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns then takes the title back at SummerSlam next year, which sets up him against Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going back on what I was saying about how this doesn't need to be for the title, but you can do it for the title, and you don't have to give a predictable reign for Roman Reigns. You have made this a little bit interesting. You're not doing a hot potato, which I don't like with major championships or really any championships other than 24/7, because that's the thing with 24/7. This is why I don't like the 24/7 to begin with, especially when it gets more airtime than the Intercontinental United States title and Tag Team Champions, both brands. There, I said it. I don't like it. But I think, too, this keeps it very much interesting. You get some of the big matches you have, you're kind of projecting your next year and a half, but you have it with matches that people do want to see. And my thing is, everyone's like, what do you do with like Drew McIntyre? Does he come in? Yeah, maybe he's in that equation. Maybe Edge goes to Raw. Maybe there's other acts that would go to Raw in a shakeup. Who knows? But I'm just giving you, if nothing changes now in terms of rosters, what do you think about that scenario? Because I'd be in for it.
And I would be too, but I was under the impression that we were heading towards Rock versus Roman next year at Mania instead of.
Well, next year's not at the Hollywood run. Next year's in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
The year after's in Hollywood, which is I think the one that they want to do Rock Hogan.
Okay, and that
Rock and Reigns.
And that would make more sense because of The Rock's been in Hollywood this whole time. But
yeah,
can Roman and can this gimmick survive that long, that much longevity? And not necessarily with or without the title, but the gimmick itself. Him being the head of the table. Can you still be the head of the table and not be the champion?
I think so, but it's all about presentation. It's all about, and this is where I would say, like, yeah, this is where you can protect a guy once in a while. Because you protect the John Cena's when he was on top. You protect the Triple H's when he was on top. Hell, you protected the Hulk Hogan's when he was on top.
Mm-hmm.
But, and here's just the thing. If Roman Reigns even wants to get like a side project, like a movie or whatever, or an offer, yeah, you can use this time away as ways to kind of not have to worry about that problem. And then when he comes back, he can come back with a statement, and then there you go. And you'd be like, yeah, I'm still the head of the table. And you got to be able to evolve this head of the table. You got to be able to evolve this acknowledge me. You got to be able to evolve this act, because this act will get stale if you keep making it repetitive.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, this is where you got to just keep watching the show, see what they do. Because as many people are like, well, it's WWE, they're doing a lot of things wrong. Okay, but they're not doing Roman Reigns wrong. They're just not right now. So I have belief that they're going to do Roman Reigns correct. They're going to do that. My thing is, I want to see them do more acts correct. I want to see them do more little things correct. Hell, maybe SmackDown needs to bring back the fist. I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I just want some continuity. I want some consistency. And I want to see them less reactionary to what other people do. I want them to focus on their own product, but I want them to focus on it in the right way. And what I mean by the right way is I want them to understand. I want them to communicate to their talent, be like, okay, what do you guys want to do? How do you guys want to be portrayed? How do you guys want to go? Because there's a bunch of talent there that need that creative freedom that, maybe they're not getting. And I think that's the problem. There needs to be that thing. Like you had Apollo be one of your best mid-card assets. Ever since he dropped that Intercontinental Championship, he has done very little.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't want to forget about Apollo Crews. In fact, I want to see him in something. Hell, I just want to see him active because he's a great professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need a title to be the best thing. Like, that's a perception that I want WWE to get away from, that you don't need a title for your gimmick to work.
And maybe this is kind of where we bring it all back to our original question is, what could WWE do? And we just handed them a plethora of ideas, of to what they could do. And, hopefully they start to listen, Hopefully this is, just the beginning for maybe a renaissance for the WWE. But time will tell.
I mean, what did they always say? Evolution. You either adapt or perish.
I thought they said evolution's a mystery, but that.
Well, I mean, right now,
I see what you did there, perish.
No, but they had a T-shirt that says "Adapt or Perish," and here's the thing: if they want to change and become better and stay more along, they got to adapt to the climate of professional wrestling, or they will, have some end of days ahead of them. Which I didn't do that because I like Barry Corman. I did that because it was Jim Johnson's last WWE theme.
You're very good with these puns. Hopefully, you don't name one of your finishing moves the parachute. Otherwise, that.
Hey man, you know what? It's so good that a guy like Riddick Moss is like, I'll use this. But that being said, I mean, we're wrapping up on near an hour here. Which, I mean, come on. Give me a little bit of honesty. Did you think we can go an hour on this one topic? Even though
we could go longer, but we got things to do right now. So,
let's wrap it up because I know you also have BOS tonight.
Yes, I need to get a nap in for that.
Yeah. So I mean, here's just a good thing. Let everybody know about Blowing Off stream tonight. What time is it? Where can we see you? What are you guys playing? Like, let the people know what's coming up tonight.
So we have I recently made some big boy purchases. As some of you know, I am now streaming on Twitch. So I decided to pick up Fibbage XL and Quiplash XL, as well as the family of Jackbox games. So I think we're going to be dipping into Fibbage and Quiplash tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, if I'm correct. And we're gonna try some of those out for tonight. And hopefully I will have my cast and crew with me. And if you are interested in joining, you can always join us in the comments. And there will always be a code where you can join in the fun in the games. And we welcome it.
Yeah, I would like to also just add that, like, this is also a show where we've seen a lot of involvement over in the past from a lot of people. And we encourage that here at Love Wrestling. We definitely encourage that when we have a stream like the Blowing Off stream, that if you're available to join us, we definitely appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But if you also want to get involved and interact, we also encourage that as well. And I know, I believe that we have Lawrence joining you tonight. From what I understand, I believe Zach. Yeah, and making it. Is that his debut?
Yes, we have been gone for 3 weeks. That is his debut. Yes.
Big Bobby Money Munson is going to be making his debut.
The Sunday Brunch King.
Yeah. Well. I mean, yeah. So we got a foursome over here for the first time in a while here at Blown Off Stream. We get a little weird on Blown Off Stream.
Yeah, it's one of those types of streams.
Regardless of who's there, who's not there, Spencer's always sus. But yeah, and then we're right back here tomorrow with another episode of Sunday Brunch, which always looking forward to. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I know that's what we have on the docket tonight. Yeah, I really wanted to say that. So
where are you at these days, Parrish?
No, I'm at my house chilling like a villain, like a civilian. I mean, but no, I'm also you know what? I'm also on the internet. I'm on the social medias. I'm also on social medias, say like RK Athletics One, where I'm checking out, just how to get, how to turn the six pack that's in my fridge onto my gut. I want to say, hey, what are the steps here? And then, Rich King over there is saying, you know what, Pudgy, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do to kind of just flatten those abs here.
I tried to clean up a little bit, and I'm noticing a little bit extra underneath here, so maybe I need to hit up at RK Athletics as well.
I was going to say you just need a better trimmer, bro. But that's beside the point. But yeah, no, Rich King is just absolutely killing it. He is outsmarting those dumbbells, we'll say, and just absolutely putting good use. Got a lot of great exercises, a lot of great techniques there. Really can change your look, your confidence level, because you look great. And you know what? Despite what was said, there is an option of you looking in the mirror and just being like, yeah, baby, I like it. And you know what? You can get that feeling by checking out RK Athletics 1 on the socials. Alex, where can we find you on the socials?
I am at EctoGuy87. You can find me on the Twitch, the Twitter. The Twitch is where I'm really trying to plug these days. I'm on the way to 10 follows, but past that, I don't know if many people know that there is also an affiliation. So trying to make my way towards 50 and then even greater than that. So if you love video games as much as I do, I'm playing right now Phasmophobia until October, which I will be starting a series of Dead Space playthroughs. And you can find that on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern prior to AEW Dynamite.
Awesome. That is awesome. Throwback, thank you for making our day a little bit better as well. This is a collective effort. We're not doing anything better than what you guys are doing. We are nobodies without our beautiful audience here at Love Wrestling. You guys make us what we are. We try to satisfy your cravings.
Thank you all so much. And for you, Astrid, de nada.
Mucho gracias. Also Mexican. I know that. I think that's Mexican.
Spanish.
Gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives? You can follow me on the Twitter at Chris Parrish, on the Instagram at Chris.Parrish, the Twitch at the Chris Parrish. I don't know. I don't work really much this week, so we'll see. Maybe I will get on the Twitch. Maybe I'll get a little crazy. I'll be bored, but I know for a fact you can catch me tomorrow on Sunday Brunch. You can follow me Monday, potentially, on Turnbuckle Talk with our good friends Carl and Mighty Joe. I know I'll be on Inspired on Tuesday with Cameron Stevens, so that's going to be interesting. Make sure you check that out. But we're also taking account to always remember. This is true.
I'll put you over. I'll put you over a little bit.
But yeah, no, this is also a time where, today, never forget. That is what we always say. Never forget the day. Always take a time in your day on this day and other days to always remember the people who were affected on the day of September 11th, 2001. But we also will remember the people that joined us.
Go hug your loved ones. Go give them kisses. Smother them with love.
Yep, because we're all about the love. And we also love wrestling. And we also want to say thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Be courteous to others. And always love wrestling.